Welcome to The Art of Being Alive, the podcast where we explore the depths of mental health, healing, and the beautiful process of inner work.
We believe that life is more than just existing. It's about engaging deeply, living with intention, and creating your own unique masterpiece through self-discovery and growth.
I'm Hunter, and I'm joined by my amazing co-host Riley. Together, we're here to guide you on a journey toward embracing the art of truly living.
Whether you want to grow your resilience and emotional well-being, or are simply seeking inspiration to live more mindfully, you're in the right place. We're here to cultivate a community that values presence, healing, and the continual pursuit of inner peace and fulfillment.
So, let's dive in, and together, let's discover the art of being alive.
Hello! Hello, Mia.
Hi! Oh my God! Hello!
In action.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you and all the people who are watching from home, phone, and office. Not in the car, that's dangerous.
Yeah, we do not condone watching in the car. You can listen in the car.
Yes. On Spotify. But if you want to watch us, hit that YouTube link.
I don't know if I'd recommend. I mean, anyways, it's been a minute. I don't remember January, at some point in January.
We said, well, you said we are going to do at least 9, and we are about to make that mark. We're going to hit it. We're going to hit it this year.
You bet. But it's wild though, because like, even though I think it was like 2 months ago, I think it was mid-January that we met, right?
Yeah.
And I think on both of our ends, it's almost like at least 6 months or a year's worth of stuff have happened since then.
We've had a lot of personal, I think we're just like jumping
Oh my
so
God.
forward so much in our own lives. Like you've had so many changes, and I feel
Yeah.
like I'm having so many changes that even if we were to get on here every other week, we're constantly updating you about the 45 things.
Yeah. Like the past 2 months has just felt like I don't know,
Roller coaster.
yeah, like some portal where it just like 0 to 100 real quick, like boom, 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 boom. And
In every aspect too of our life, like
well,
every
yeah.
little category.
And I mean, from my perspective anyways, like, could have seen it coming, quite fitting, because I mean, like I personally like regard the new year as like the astrological new year, right? Like the beginning of spring equinox, which is literally a few days from now, right? And so January and February are often like the moving towards the completion of cycles, and also like the
Birthing.
bringing up like old stuck traumas and patterns that like you're ready to just let go and not take
Dead.
into the new chapter, right?
Yeah. I mean, spring is like when all the babies are born. Like that's really
Rebirth,
when
yes.
rebirth happens.
And it's when the
So,
flowers start blooming again.
and I think that's when our souls start blooming a little bit more, and we start getting curious, and we start really wanting to make those pattern changes. The weather gets nice and we start to unfreeze.
Absolutely. And I feel like, like it's been like a big theme too, like in my therapy room the past, well, I say few weeks, but few months, right? Is like I feel like as a society, like we don't acknowledge the cyclical nature of like the seasons, and how like in different seasons, like it's normal and in our nature to have different levels of energy and different output. And like, yeah, like I feel like a lot of people in my room lately have been like, oh, like I've had no motivation to get outside and move and blah blah blah, and like shaming themselves about it. And I'm like, we're still in hibernation season. The bears are still sleeping while they're starting to wake up. But like, again, it's natural and normal that we've been in this like cozy rest mode hibernation season the past few months, right? Like I don't think it's acknowledged
Absolutely.
enough like in society, because they want us having the same output all the time, capitalism, but like
Grind,
the
grind,
fact,
grind, grind, grind.
yeah. But like the fact that, yeah, we're moving into spring and there's more daylight and there's more sunshine. Yeah, naturally, we're just going to have more energy and motivation to be outside because that's just the cyclical nature of the seasons, you know?
100%. 100%. And you and I had talked briefly off camera, but I think that we both agree that there's kind of this theme for the podcast today around just like health, whether
Yeah.
that's your physical health or your mental health, and what aids in that health and what takes away from your health, and all those little micro things that really help create a whole being. And I know that you and I are walking beings of that. Like we're experiencing that, and so then we can acknowledge that in others.
Well, absolutely. And like that's why it's come forward as the theme for today. It's not like we're like, oh, let's choose a theme, right? Like when me and Riley are just organically catching up on life. I mean, we try to save it for the podcast, but like we talk
It's
more
really
often than once
hard.
every 2 months,
It's
Like,
really hard
but
not
yeah, like
to.
when we're catching up on life, like that's really the biggest theme that we're both kind of navigating right now. It's just like changes and insights and shifts and yeah, like pieces to do with like our health.
Yeah, 100%. Um, do you want me to share on
I mean,
what
sure,
is
yeah. If you're open to it.
so yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that if you are in a healing journey or in a personal journey, it's kind of like the chicken or the egg, where it's like either your physical health gets the spotlight and then your mental health kind of gets the spotlight, or you go in on your mental health and then your physical health ends up getting the spotlight next. And for me, that's kind of really what it was. Of like, I was still trying to process the world around me and how I fit into the world around me and my mental health. And once I was able to face that, dive into that, grow into that, shed those mental health layers, then it gave me the spaciousness to be really attuned to my body. And
Yeah.
then I became very aware of my physical health. And when you become aware of your physical body, it's not just what the number on the scale,
Oh
or you
yeah.
knowing that you need to move. It's like you actually are super attuned to like all the little feelings in your body.
Well, and I can't help but like think how much this was all connected to the somatic work that you've done, right? And like the
Yes.
reconnecting to like your body sensations and its messages, right? Like maybe
Yes.
things that like you're hearing like in a brand new way now that you have that
Hmm.
awareness, right? And those skills.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I guess to back up a little bit. So originally I did traditional talk therapy with a licensed mental and marriage and family therapist, and that took me really far. That got me
Mhm.
into a really far place. And then I started diving into somatics, somatic therapeutic practices, which is, we've talked about this before, but if you're a new listener, it's truly the acknowledgement and the practices of attuning to your body and how the traumas or the life experiences that you have gone through have effect on your physical body, and then and making adjustments and attunements from there. So yes, I would agree that that somatic work then just made me very much more in alignment with
Mhm.
listening to what I need. And so I have started to age. And for you and I are both in our early 30s, and they joke about it all the time. It's like, oh, when you turn 30, your body just kind of makes a shift, especially as a woman. It's like, that is real. That is very real. And I just feel like in the last year and a half, I feel so much more slow, so
Mm.
much more sticky, inflamed, like restless, like just uncomfortable in my skin. Not the way that I look in the mirror, but just like how I physically
Mhm.
feel. And I know that I have a healthy body waiting on the other end. And I'm just like, what is keeping me from feeling like my best self? Like I truly don't
Yeah.
understand, because I
What's
am,
I was gonna say,
yeah.
what's blocking the flow? What's in the way?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. And so then, you can only do so much for yourself before you're like, okay, I need help.
Yeah.
And um I'm not against doctors, but I know that we have a sick care system and not a health care system. We're usually on the
Mhm.
back end of things and not on the forefront of things.
Oof.
And I know that there's so many people listening to this that have had a shared experience. I feel like almost all of us can remember a time where we go into the doctor and we tell them how we feel. We give them our symptoms and they say, "Oh, rest, water, move your body, you're going to be fine." Or the reverse of that, they just write you a
Yeah,
prescription.
exactly.
And
One or
and
the
you're
other.
like, okay, both of those were one of those was a band-aid and never got to the root of why I feel the way that I feel. And the other one was you blowing me off and I just
Yeah,
paid a copay
dismissive.
for this.
Yeah,
And so I just feel really unheard. And then you experience that so many times that you're just like, I'm not going to the doctor anymore. I don't want to
that's
deal
been
with
my
this.
experience too. Right.
And
And
it's
let me also just
yeah,
acknowledge like Riley lives in the US, I live in Canada, right? So we have two very different healthcare systems, and yet we can both relate on this.
it's beyond frustrating. And I don't want to disqualify anybody who is not a woman, but when you are a woman, I feel like there's just this extra layer because so much of our history and medical history and where they get their studies for is never done on a woman.
No.
So the data is not right. The math ain't mathin'. Like you go into a doctor's office and you just kind of get funneled along. And so I just was like, but I do need a doctor. Like I do at this point, I do need medical professional help. And so I was very intentional and I sat down with my laptop and I just started digging for doctors, a DO, not an MD. And I just started digging and I just would picture the person and I'd look at the picture and I'd say, is this my doctor? And I'd
I
go,
love
nope.
it.
And I'd go the next one and I'd look at them and I'd read about them and I'm like, okay, is this my doctor? Is this person me? And I'm like, nope.
I love it.
Then I finally found Dr. Beckett and I was like, yeah, that's her. Like I could just tell.
Wait, can you explain what a DO is? Because people in Canada, I don't know what that is. So,
So MD is medical doctor.
yes.
A DO is like doctor of, no, I could be wrong, optometry or
No, that's eyes.
yeah, you're right. Oh,
Osteopathy?
yeah, yeah,
Osteopathy?
it's a more holistic. What's the O word that's more holistic? Should we look it up before we're giving misinformation on a podcast?
Hold
Yeah,
on. Is it osteopathy? Let me search.
could be.
Yeah, sounds like it. Osteopathy. Okay, cool.
So a DO, it has a different, they go through a different medical practice and they take different courses and they're more of that holistic medical
Okay.
approach. So I knew I wanted a DO.
Yeah,
And I just started looking and I just like really tried to attune to that doctor. And there
I
was
love
just
that.
something about her that I was like, this girl's gonna listen to me.
Yeah.
She's gonna hear me. And if not, I'll find another one. So I made an appointment, got in with her, and I just like said, I'm 32. I've been in the gym every day for a year and a half and I can't lose weight. And I'm frustrated. I'm very attuned to what I'm eating and my movement and my mood. And like something is wrong. And she goes through the spiel like, are you eating? Are you drinking water? Are you sleeping every night? I'm like,
Which,
check,
I mean,
check,
fair
check.
enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going through your basics. And
Yeah.
then she's like, okay. She said, you are right. There is something a little deeper. And I was like, she's not arguing with me. She's validating me. This feels
Yeah.
really good. It's so bizarre. And then she just started asking about my medical history. She's like, anybody with thyroid issues? I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, anybody with colon cancer? I'm like, yes. She's like, really? She's like, have you ever been to the dermatologist? I'm like, yeah, I've been to the dermatologist. She's like, what for? And I'm like, this is such a random question.
Well,
And
yeah, that would feel random.
yeah, you just asked me about
Skin
thyroid
doctor.
cancer. Yeah, thyroid cancer,
Yeah.
colon cancer. Then you're asking me if I've ever been to the dermatologist. She's like, what'd you go for? And I'm like, well, ever since I was a little kid, I've had psoriasis. And she's like, oh, she's like, psoriasis is a symptom. It's not an actual thing. She's like, let me see your psoriasis. So I show her and she's like, Riley, you have an autoimmune disease. And I'm like, huh? You're telling me for 32 years I've had an autoimmune disease? you just know that I have an autoimmune disease and nobody has ever told me. And she's like, yes. She's like, that means that your body is incredibly inflamed. And the state of your psoriasis is showing me, your body is showing me how inflamed
Yeah.
the inside of your body is. And she's like, yes. She's like, we're going to do all the blood work that you want and need, and I'm going to prove it to you. But yes, you have autoimmune. And any doctor that's ever seen you or seen your medical history would know this. This is not a hidden thing. And I became almost like very emotional of like, why did it take 32 years and me
Truly.
going to the hospital multiple times in my past for being in pain
Yeah.
and certain symptoms, and then she's like, well, you have autoimmune, and she's like, so we need to refocus, we need to eliminate some things out of your
Yeah.
diet and try like a holistic new approach.
Can I just ask, like, how was psoriasis framed to you, like, before? Were you just told, like, oh, yeah, there's just something wrong with your skin. It's always going to be like that. Nothing you can do. Like, good luck? Or,
Yeah, like so my dad has it really bad,
yeah,
and my aunt who had thyroid cancer has it really bad. So I'm getting it genetically on both sides
yeah.
of my family. And so it looked just like theirs, and they were both like, "Oh yeah, girl, you got it." I mean, even when I was really little. And then my mom took me to a dermatologist when I was young just to confirm. And they were like, "Yep, she's got it. Let's get you a little cream." You know, they just give you a little cream. And I've just had a little cream my whole life. And that was that. Like there was no further up question.
Yeah.
And I asked the doctor, I'm like, well, how long has it been a known thing that if you have psoriasis or even eczema, even though they're two different categories, that it's a symptom and not an individual thing? And she's like, always. She's like, anybody, she's like, this is not new. This is not
Well,
new in the
like,
last 20 or 30
I
years.
knew it just because, like, it runs in my family as well. Like, I have a parent with this, right? So, like, I knew that. But, like, yeah, like, but I wouldn't have if it wasn't from my parent having it and their doctors actually telling them,
So
right?
your mom was told you have psoriasis, and that it means that you have a form of an autoimmune.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful in this moment. I'm so grateful I have
Yeah.
answers and I'm not dying, you guys.
Finally.
But it's just so validating when you feel like you're kind of going crazy and you're like, why do I feel so tired all the time? Why do
Yeah.
I feel achy? Why am I? Because then what she started saying was, and we did blood work, she's like, you are insulin resistant and you are metabolically stagnant. Like you have no metabolism. So it doesn't matter how hard you go in the gym, and it
Same,
doesn't
same.
matter how clean you eat, your body, it can't do anything with
Yeah.
this. You could be having the most perfect diet and the most perfect workout. And Riley, unfortunately for you, nothing is going to change until we heal this autoimmune.
Heal the gut.
Heal the gut, baby. And guess
Yeah.
where all the trauma is stored?
Yep. Right in that gut fascia. Yeah.
And so I guess my listeners are like, why are you sharing this story?
Well, because it
If
just shook up
you
everything for you. Like your whole
one
understanding of everything.
of myself,
Yeah.
you think back and I'm like, I have been hospitalized for issues since I was little
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
never come about. And so it's super validating, but I know that there is someone who's listening who has this symptom or has this intuitive feeling that something is wrong, something is deeper, and they have yet to find the person that's going to validate them, help them, give them the answers. And so if you are that person who's listening, don't give up, get on the internet, start researching, find yourself a specialist and look at their picture and do some research and really attune to it and feel into it and just do not give up. And I went into that doctor's appointment prepared to fight. Like I was like, I'm not leaving there until I get what I want. I want a full
I
blood
love
workup.
that.
I want this. And I was prepared for her to say no. And so I had everything written on paper, my full medical history, all the things that I was feeling, so that there she couldn't argue back with me. And she didn't argue with me one time, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, you're like,
But
no medical gaslighting up in here today. Not
nobody's gonna
happening.
invalidate me.
No.
But I want whoever's listening to this who is really struggling with whatever it is you're struggling with, I don't want you to quit. I don't want you to give up. I want you to find that person that's going to help you. And I want you to write it all down on a piece of paper. I want you to go in there and I don't want you to leave until you get what you need. Because it can happen for you.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, like, is there anything you want to speak of in terms of like how that has like shifted your life and like how, like, if any symptoms have started shifting yet and just like
Mm-hmm.
mood wise, like what's changed since learning about this?
If you are autoimmune, and that means that you struggle with inflammation in your body, like I said, insulin resistant or metabolically stagnant, the top three that you have to take out of your body to trial it, it's not permanent, it could become permanent, but the top three: gluten, it's an inflammatory to your body, dairy, and sugar. Those three had to go, which is so hard because
It is hard.
I can
Yeah.
eat wheels of cheese all the live long day. I love a good whole milk latte. I love Greek yogurt on
Oh
everything.
yeah, for sure.
And sugar? I
Yeah.
mean, come
And
on,
well, it's hard
sugar's
to
in
avoid.
everything.
Yeah, it's in sauces, it's in salad dressings, like
She didn't say I had to eliminate fruit. She just was like
yeah,
processed
that makes sense.
sugar that's placed into things. It's got to go
Yeah.
for a while until we do another blood work. And gluten. I'm like, I eat a piece of sourdough bread every day. Like I love a good tortilla. Like
Yeah. Not the
so
tortilla.
not the cheese and tortilla. So once I eliminated that, and I guess it's like easier when your doctor's saying like this is what you have to do. It's
Yeah.
not like
And you're
I'm gonna
paying
try.
for this too, right? So you want to kind of
Yeah.
invest in it. You wanted
Yes.
answers. Can't ignore them at that point.
Yeah, I'm like, crap.
Yeah.
This is not can't you just give me a shot or something? No. Um, like instant. Like
Wow.
instant.
Instant what?
My inflammation, like my face started to just
Holy shit.
change. My stomach just started to like shrink because she's like, you think that you're the shape and size that you are, but you're actually not the shape and
Yeah.
size that you are. That is literally inflammation in your body and it's just puffed out. And she's like, when you cut this, she's like, you're going to just feel so good. I love wearing rings, but by the end of the day, I'm so swollen and stiff, I can't get the ring off. Don't have that issue anymore. It's like these like little micro things. And I still have a long
Wow.
way to go.
Sure.
Now, have I cheated a little? Yes. But I think the goal is truthfully like I didn't realize how much overconsumption
Yeah.
of gluten, dairy, and sugar I was doing. And just even scaling it way down, massive change.
Mood too?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't yawn during my workouts. I'm like in the
Wow.
gym going like this with a weight and I'm yawning. And my
Yeah.
trainer's like, You good?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"I can't even get through a workout." And then when I explained it to him, he's been working with me for a year. And he is so loving, so smart, so well-rounded. He has a wife who he has worked with, like he truly understands as best as a man can understand. And I think in the back of his mind, he's probably thinking, like, why is this not working for Riley in the way that I know that it
Yeah.
should? And so when I went to him and I said, I have autoimmune and I'm insulin resistant and I'm metabolically stagnant, you could just see like a weight lifting off of him as a
Yeah.
trainer. He's
No
like,
pun
"Oh, thank
intended.
God." Yes. He's like, "Oh," he was like, "First of all, I'm so sorry. And second of all, he's like, this explains so
Yeah,
much."
totally.
He's like, "No offense, but I'm so relieved because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what am I doing wrong for this girl?"
Mm,
And so again, the whole point in sharing this is I'm hoping that somebody is listening this and they're getting super curious about things that they're experiencing and going, okay, you know what? I have been dealing with X, Y, and Z for so long, and I just gave up and I just thought that this is the lot that I'm dealing with. And I don't want that for anyone.
Well, and even things like, okay, coming back to like a woman again, sorry to any of the men listening. Actually, no, I'm not going to apologize. But like even things like bloating after meals, like really bad period cramps. Like we've got to this point where we're like, oh yeah, that's normal, but it's not normal. None of those things are normal.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Right? Like those are all
Mm-mm.
symptoms, right? So like, yeah, it could be things that you've even come to like accept as like, oh, that's normal. That just happens. Oh yeah, I just get headaches all the time. That just happens, right? Like things don't just happen for no reason, right? Like there's always a deeper underlying cause, right? And that's what we're getting at. And one more thing I want to add is that I don't think either of us, like it may come off this way, but I don't think either of us are like trying to shit on, like Western medicine. Like
No.
I have lots of my friends are nurses. I have friends that are doctors. Like I have mad respect for,
Same.
medical doctors, medical practitioners. I think what we're trying to get at here is like a lot, and a lot of my friends in the field can recognize this themselves, is that like the way Western medicine has been set up is like this systems approach, right? Like, okay, we have someone who specializes in endocrine, in rheumatology, in neurology, in psychology, like in all these like
Separate parts.
yeah, like separated parts, right? And you learn everything you can about your part, which is like great and well. And again, like there's a piece missing where it's like everything is related to everything, right? And we're
We
we're
are a whole
lacking
person.
professionals that uh, that have the kind of integrated training of all the systems, right?
Hmm.
So, anyways, yeah, I just wanted to add that
I
as
know,
well.
you are 100% right. And that's the thing. It's like everything is so specialized, and that's important that you have specialties, but
Absolutely.
then you get missed as like
Bigger picture.
whole person. And I
Yeah.
agree too. I have many friends that are in the nursing side of things, and I have friends that are in their residencies and they are DOs. And like they will even admit, like, Riley, we touched on this in school. Like we touched on this, we touched on
Yes.
this. Am I prepared and ready to go into my specialty and field? Yes, 100%. I'm
Yeah.
ready to help. But he's like, the body is so in depth, and we just touch on these little things. And he's like, a lot of times when I'm working with patients in my residency, he's like, I have learned to become the person that says, let me go make sure I'm right on this, let me go check. I would full-heartedly love a doctor that's like, you know what, let me do some checking,
Yeah.
instead of being like, let me just spout some shoot off on in
I
this.
know everything. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
like just say, let me be right back. Let's go
Yeah.
look this up. Let's double check. And that's what my doctor did. She was very confident in what she said. And then she's like, and we're gonna run this test, this test, this test, and let me go check the book. And so yes, not not debunking Western medicine, but we've
It's
all
just
had shared experiences of like we're getting kind of pushed through.
yeah, and it's just again like it's a systemic issue in the way that things are taught. And also just like obviously like there's not enough resources in order for there to be like kind of collaboration between all our medical professionals and like so there's just like holes, there's gaps, right? And if we don't really like question the gaps and kind of like trust our instinct that like something's being missed here, like it will continue to be missed, right? So we have to advocate, we have to kind of trust what we're feeling and experiencing.
And to flow into that, it's like when you feel defeated by your physical health, guess what it affects? Point to it. One, two, three. Your mind. Like
Everything, oh my god.
it makes you
Direct.
feel crazy,
Direct, yeah.
and you just feel defeated, or you're just like, what's the point? And I've given up on myself so many times because I'm not seeing the change of the results or feeling better, and then that wears on a mental toll, and then you go down a spiral in that way, and it affects everything. It affects the environment that you live in. And I know that that's something that I want to segue into, is like you personally and the clients that you're dealing with, it's so interconnected.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I mean, I guess I can, yeah, speak to it on a personal level. Just, I mean, in terms of like what's been coming up in kind of like my path in the last couple of months. Obviously, I have a lot of resonance to Riley's story as well. But no, what's coming up for me even more so right now is, and I think I spoke about this on the last one just briefly, the last podcast, is that the last, God, I don't know, at least 5 years, like when I say I've been like in full blown hermit mode, like I don't think people understand the extent to which I mean that. Like I because another thing that can deeply deeply impact like our physical and mental health is our financial stability, right?
Yes.
And like I spent 3 years in a full-time master's degree where I was trying to like serve part-time just to kind of stay afloat, but that wasn't paying my tuition. So I did 3 years of that, right? And just penny pinching, like don't go anywhere, don't do anything because you don't have enough money, like stay in. And then finish that. And then, first 2 years of starting my private practice, my own business, which is a lot of the same, right? It's like it takes time to build a client load and to get kind of financially stable. And so, like, really, truly, like the past 5 years has just been just like a pure survival mode for me of like barely making bills every month, just like trying to set a foundation. And that's impacted my physical and mental health like hugely, but also like just like my social life, right? And just like it's made my world very, very small. And so, anyways, all that to say, what's been coming up for me recently, and I'm like trying to decide whether it's worth sharing this like free part of the story. I think I will, whatever. Because it has to do with like advocating when something's, like not right, which was a
Yes.
big part of Riley's story. So I'll speak to that as well. But anyways, so basically mid-January, I received a notice from my landlord saying that he was going to be raising my rent in a few months to a literal astronomical number. Like, I have been considering contacting my landlord for the past 6 months to ask for a rent reduction because when I moved into this apartment, rent was a lot higher than it is now, right? Like it was before that all the interest rates came down and so I had been wanting to contact him asking for a reduction because I was seeing postings for all the apartments in my building at like hundreds of dollars lower than I'm currently paying. But I didn't bother him. Like, my landlord lives in
He,
another province, right? Like I have not bothered this man once in like a year and a half. I've been the perfect model tenant. And yeah, a year and a half in, he sends me a notice telling me he's gonna raise it to an astronomical amount. And, like I've had, I mean, like many of us, like previously in my life, like I would not have uh, advocated for myself. I would have just been like, "Hey, sounds good, no worries,"
I'll figure
right?
it out.
Yeah. And immediately when I got that email, I'm like, "Hell no!" I'm like, there is not a
Yeah.
single person on the rental market today, like a new tenant, who would pay that amount. So, like, as someone who's been here for a year and a half and been a literal model tenant, why am I being asked to pay more than a brand new tenant would pay? Like, hell
Right.
no. So I sent back, yeah, like a very long, very well structured
Very
argument.
professional. I read that,
Yeah.
you guys. Very professional. She came with the
Yeah,
receipts.
I did. I was very proud of myself actually. Um, anyways, the result ended up him coming back and being like sending me a news article proving that rent is about to go back up, and then also talking about how I live on a higher floor, so my rent's going to be higher. And I'm like, okay, but I just sent you one that's
No.
2 floors below me for $300 less. So what's your argument? Anyways, all that to say, he's like, okay, we'll postpone your rent increase a couple months. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. But then it was just kind of like sitting with me, like just not sitting well. I don't like being taken advantage of,
Uneasy. Yeah. Your
right?
intuition.
And so, yeah, I was in this kind of challenging place of like, I don't know, like my apartment right now is like it's 2 years old, just over 2 years old. It's like it's gorgeous. It's like pure luxury. Like it's probably the home or apartment like I would have always dreamed of having as a kid.
Mhm.
Like me getting this apartment was like me being like I effing made it, you know? Like it
Yes.
has central air conditioning, it has a outdoor pool outside, it has
The
a
view off
gym,
the
it has a
balcony.
sauna. Yeah, like it's luxury. Like this apartment is like I made it, you know? And so I was grappling with this whole thing of like, okay, sure, like it's absolutely gorgeous, right? My ego loves it, right? But like does it still feel good for my soul? You know? Like I was really really sitting with that. And like does it feel good for my soul? And so sorry, this is turning into like a longer story than I intended,
I
but I
love
think it's
this.
a good
Keep
story.
going. I
Okay.
think it's important.
And so yeah, so I started like passively looking for new apartments, right? Like I wasn't like, oh, F that guy, like I'm gonna move immediately. No, like I
Hmm.
still love my place. He was
You
putting off
started
the
getting
rental increase.
curious.
I started getting curious, right? And just kind of putting out feelers out there with no urgency or not even any real intent to like move. I was just kind of browsing. And yeah, like one of the first nights that I was actually just browsing, I saw this place that's like literally 2 blocks away. Um, it's a two-bedroom though. I currently live in a one-bedroom. And yeah, like I looked at it and I was like, oh man, like pretty much everything about it is like perfect. The only downfalls were no central air conditioning anymore. And the kitchen is like I have a very luxurious kitchen right now, and this other apartment, like the kitchen
It's
is
a good kitchen.
it's fine. It's just
Yeah.
like a bit just I don't know, not updated and luxurious like my current one. But I saw it and I was like, "Oh my God, like this is perfect." Right? And like the rate was or sorry, the rent was good and blah blah blah. So this is Craigslist too, right? So when you send replies on Craigslist, you're like, maybe I'll get a reply, maybe I won't. Like it's just kind of like a shot in the dark, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll just reply to this ad, like whatever. So I respond, and then I literally get this is 9 p.m. on a Thursday night. Okay. I get a text message 4.5 minutes later. Hi, Hunter. Yeah, come see the place tomorrow. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, all right. Guess I'm seeing the place tomorrow. So I went and saw the place the next day, and I'm like, shit, man. I think I'm doing this. Um, and let me add that part of this vision that I didn't include is that I did decide at the end of January, unrelated to this whole apartment rental
That's what I was
thing.
just about
Yeah,
to
yeah, I
say.
know
You
you
can
are. I know
see
you
it in
are.
my mouth. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see me like trying to mouth. I'm like, okay, tell him, tell him.
Yeah, so this is actually completely unrelated, but um basically I do have like an in-person counseling office lease, and the the lease is up in April. That'll be the end of my second year. But they make me decide by January 31st whether or not I'm going to be ending my lease at the end of April or renewing for a whole nother year. So I had till January 31st to decide if I was going to renew my office space or not. And I sat on that decision for so long. Like this whole that was hard too. It was like this whole scarcity thing. If I let go of my office, what if I can't get in-person clients anymore? And then what if I don't have enough? What if virtual, right? It's so saturated in the virtual world. What if, right? And okay, I'm in a sidebar, but I'm gonna come back to my apartment in a second. But before I made the office decision, like I did go view another office that like it's a counselor's office that I would just rent it from her 1 day a week. And it was like perfect. And I almost went for it. And I'm like, okay, but what am I really being asked to do here? Like, is this just kind of like the me clinging for comfort? And
Hmm.
I'm really being asked to like lean into like I had to figure out what I was actually being asked of here. So anyways, I ended up, yeah, not taking the new office. and I ended up ending my lease, and that felt like a big, like not a big risk, but it felt like a big leap for me
Hmm.
to let that go.
Especially because then you would be in this one bedroom apartment having to work at your kitchen
Kitchen
table.
table, which is where I am right now. Yes. Yes, exactly. So coming back to the apartment, yeah. So this is a two bedroom, right? So I could make the second bedroom, which is my favorite shade of green on the walls, has a big
Yeah.
window, right? Like can make into my virtual office, right? So I was there and my brother came with me and I was like, oh, and this place also has an outdoor pool that actually might be nicer than my current building's outdoor pool. Um, yeah, and immediately I was like, holy shit, I think this is happening. But like I wasn't even like set on moving, so this was like happening way too fast for my brain to like comprehend. But yeah, he needed to know by like the next day because he had a bunch of people lined up, but he wanted to go with me. Um, so anyways, I ended up signing the lease on the Saturday. So I was just casually browsing on Thursday, not even thinking of moving. The very next day, I saw the place. The very next day after that, I signed the lease. So all that to say that even when I was signing the lease, because I had a deadline I had to sign it by, otherwise someone else was going to get it. Like there was a backup. And honestly, the whole time, like I couldn't fully get there because my brain was never fully on board.
On board.
By the time that I had to make this decision, my brain was never fully on board. But it was just so strong in my body that I just had to like do it, but my mind never caught up. My mind never got there
Mhm.
before I signed the lease. It was the trippiest thing to make such a big decision when my brain did not get there yet.
Can I
But
ask you a question?
yes.
Even though your brain didn't catch up, even though your mind wasn't on board, but your body was so like, yes. Did it feel easy? It's
Mm,
like layered. That's a layered question. Because in my mind, as I'm listening to this, sometimes the best things that for us just come so quick and easy.
yeah. Well, yeah, like in that sense, sure. It came so easy, right? Like just the way it all aligned, right? That
Hmm.
it was like, well, how could this not be the thing? But like easy for me to let go of this gorgeous luxury place that I've always dreamed of? No, right? Like it was this huge, honestly, I felt like I was having this big battle of like ego versus soul, just like play out right in front of me, right? I'm like, my whole life, I mean, like money has, okay, I want to be careful about how I say this because words are spells and I'm not trying to like create some bad juju, but like, yeah, like I'm only just in the process of moving towards financial stability for the first time in my life, right? Like even
Yes.
growing up, like that was not, yeah. I mean, obviously to an extent, like middle class, whatever.
Yes.
But yeah,
True
and so
financial freedom on your own.
oh yeah, no, I have never had a disposable income. Yeah. So yeah, like getting rid of like to finally reach my like, oh my God, I made it apartment. And then to like let go of the luxury of this place and the view to go to something that like looks a little bit less luxury, not that much, but like a little bit less luxury, doesn't have AC. But like the honestly, at the end of the day, like the biggest pieces for me were like and this is probably gonna sound silly, but it's fine. Um, there's something about living this high up that my body just doesn't feel 100% safe. Like I've never really been able to fully
Because
settle
you
in.
are in the 20s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have had an earthquake since I've been in this building, and it was quite scary, like the way my building swayed and yeah, and so there's something about yeah, moving to this like lower rise where I'm just closer to the ground. Like I'm a very
It's
earthy
right in front of
ground person.
water.
Yeah. So yeah, like I this apartment to me symbolizes that I'm moving into symbolizes this transition from this like hustle, strive, tick the boxes, look like you're doing good, right? Like put on a show, like show them you've made it,
Be the
hustle, hustle,
money.
hustle, be disconnected from the world, up in the sky phase that I've been in the past 5 years. And this transition is moving into this phase where it like the word that's coming to me is like home, right?
Mm,
Like it's like, sure, it's not your fancy marble fucking counters and this and that, but it's like it's home. Like it's a very homey apartment in like a really beautiful, strong community. And like the biggest thing for me too is like this symbolizes to me like my shift into reclaiming work-life balance, right? And like having a life again. And so, like, and again, this might sound silly, but like having like a separate room for my work, right? So I can be
so
like,
important.
okay, especially if I'm going to be fully virtual, right? Like, okay, I'm going to go into my room, I'm going to work, and okay, I'm shutting the door. Work is done. Here's my own life,
Yes.
right?
Boundaries, a
Because
good
I have
intentional
had
space.
none of that.
Hmm.
Like I have not had, I'm not kidding. Like between my master's degree and then being in my business and never being caught up on notes ever, ever, right? Like there is not like a single moment on a weekend or in the week where I'm like, oh, okay, work is done. What do I want to do in my own life? Like notes have bled over in the same way that homework bled over. Like there was no separation, right? And so, yeah, this is really symbolizing like a shift for me into like just like what's good for the soul, right? And like having like a life separate from work again, being able to shut the door. And then one more thing I'll just add to that is that because I am now paying less overall per month, because before I was paying for a one bedroom apartment and an office space, and now I'm just paying for a two-bedroom apartment. So I'm paying less per month. That allowed me to get a car again, right? So even,
Freedom.
yeah, like even the freedom that comes with that, right? Like I have a paddle board, but like it was hard to get anywhere without a car. So I'm just really, really, really looking forward to moving into this chapter in my life where my world becomes bigger, my work and life become more separate. And from that, just seeing like how much both my physical and my mental health shift, right? Just from like the stability and regulation that will come from that foundation.
What I'm going to look
So,
forward to is that when we do our future podcasts, like seeing that transformation or hearing that transformation from you and you giving us updates of like what it is now like to be in a different environmental space, different work-life balance, somewhere where you are more grounded, somewhere where it's easier to access the things that you enjoy with the
exactly.
car and the space that you're in. Like I'm really
It's
excited to hear
time.
that.
It's so time. And like one more thing I'll say, I keep adding this disclaimer of like this might sound weird, but I mean, I'm gonna again. But yeah, like I'm very, very like sensitive to my environments and my spaces and energy. And one thing I will say is that I really, really have a hard time switching how I relate to an environment. Um, yeah, when I still live there. So like for example, like when I finished my master's degree, it was hard for me to like not be a student who was constantly thinking about how much homework I had while living in that space, right?
Yes.
Like I just couldn't turn that off. And so like
Mhm.
5 months after I graduated, I moved out and moved to this place. And I created like a different energetic pattern and imprint and kind of habits in this space, right? And now, yeah, like I've been trying to move towards this transition of like, okay, finish the notes after the client, here's the rest of your life. And I am finding it hard to do in the same space. And I'm not using this as a cop out, but like I really think this will be an invitation for me to like, no, in this apartment, you are not that person that has
You
notes
get to,
overdue every weekend, right? That person doesn't live
yes,
here. She stays
you get
here.
to start over. You get to
Exactly.
start over. You get to bring in a new, higher version of yourself. And that's what I wanted to add to everything that you're saying and validate that. I think for people listening, they don't realize, maybe they don't even realize how much the environment that they're in, whether that's work, home, or a work
Yeah,
home,
good
because
point.
some
Yeah.
is truly affecting your
Hmm.
health physically and mentally, emotionally,
Yeah.
psychologically, financially. And so either maybe you're not in a position to just pick up and move, but look around your environment, look around your office space, your home office, your kitchen table, and maybe you truly need an overhaul. Maybe that's just
Yeah.
rearranging your furniture. Maybe that's going and getting some good vibes, some candles, maybe a new little something to pop on your wall. I don't think people realize how decluttering and going through your things and purging and just really creating an energetic shift
Totally.
can truly impact your physical and mental being.
Honestly, yeah, that's such a good point, and I'm so glad that you really outlined that because yeah, like that even comes down to, and again, something I didn't really notice, but yeah, like the energy of like my strict landlord who doesn't even live here, like was all like, no, don't put things on the wall and blah 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 blah. Um, so yeah, the whole time I lived here, I like, and it's not like I was, oh, I gotta listen to him. Like it wasn't even intentional. It wasn't even intentional, but this chronic like living in fear of because it's this brand new
Then you
apartment,
don't
brand
ever
new building,
settle.
2.5 years old, right? So yeah,
Don't settle.
I've lived here for a year and a half and I don't have a single thing on the walls, right? So even the energy of that, of the don't touch anything, don't make it look lived in, right? And now moving into this new place where I'm going to decorate it how I want. It's going to be mine. One more thing I'm going to say, I'm also investing in, just on that same note, I've also like not a ton of money, but um I'm investing in a personal organizer to help me
Oh,
in my move-in week. She's coming for 4 hours
I didn't
and
know
she's
this.
yeah, and she's gonna help me like organize like my kitchen and my bathroom storage and stuff in a way that's like feels
Functional.
good. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that you're doing that. I did not know you're doing that.
Yeah.
That's going to be so good for that ADHD brain too.
That's just
Making
it.
things in a very visual, pleasing way that's easy to put back, but easy to like access. On your note prior, and I was like putting my fingers up, like, oh
Yeah,
my God.
sorry.
It made me remember. No, it made me remember. I watched this reel of this woman who was like crying in this video, and it was like, it literally spoke to my soul. She said that her whole life they would pick up and move and pick up and move and pick up and move and pick up and move. And so she's always had these things, but they've always been in a box or a bag or a tote because they would just pick up and move. And she is like 30 years old and she finally got a place of her own. And she knows that she's in a good place financially where they're not going to pick up and move. And she's like, for the first time in my life, I hung
Mm,
something on a wall and I laid down a
yeah.
rug and I unboxed a box and I
Wow.
set up a candle and I walked around my apartment and I was like, I get to stay. And I think that was like, she said, like, that was so healing. And you could like see that in her of like,
Y-
when you don't actually settle and you're just there, like, you're like, this is my apartment, I'm paying for it, and it's my home. But like, I haven't been able to like,
Yes.
be and
Yes.
truly be, that is a big major effect.
Yes, honestly, absolutely. And I'm having like epiphanies as you're saying this because like I knew that. And yeah, like when you're speaking of that, I'm like, yeah, like how can we ever fully settle and like regulate our nervous system in that settledness? Yeah, if we don't even feel like we've arrived, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another thing I think about being here. Like in one sense, since I moved to this city, right? I do feel like I've arrived in a big way, just in the sense of like my walks and being outside. But like in terms of my actual space, yeah, no, like I still don't feel like I fully like arrived and settled, right? And that is chronically gonna, yeah, breed this sense of like, like
Yep. If I have to move, it'll be easy for me to move. If I have to move, if I
exactly.
have to go, all I got to do is
And I won't
pack a
lose my
quick things.
damage deposit.
Yeah, and it's like you in the back of your mind, you don't realize that little message is actually like etching away and
Yeah,
causing you to not feel fully there, fully present. And so
absolutely.
as you move into this new space, I'm gonna hold you to it. You're hanging some shit on the wall.
Oh, right away. In fact, I'm getting my keys on Friday, by the way, like very soon, like 5 days from now. And I mean, okay, here's one benefit. I hope he doesn't listen to this, but here's one benefit. My landlord is like at least 10 years younger than me. Super, super sweet, lovely guy. Super, super, like great energy. But anyways, yeah, like on Friday when I go get the keys, he's like, "Yeah, so we left this like shoe cabinet in here for you if you want it. Like, do you want me to mount it on the wall by the door or whatever?" I'm like, "Yeah, let me show you where I want it on Friday." So he's gonna start mounting stuff
Help
for me
you.
on Friday. Yeah, like
That's a good man.
yeah. So the energy around hanging things and making it my own is like already so chill. Like he's been so lovely, and even just the switch of like the landlord energy is like so big.
Hmm.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
And you get to
I'm
go into it and be like, okay, what am I keeping and what am I purging? And it's like, is this thing, this little thing, tchotchke, does this make me happy? No? Meow.
well, okay, and that's the thing is that okay, so first of all, like how wild that because me and this landlord were trying to compromise because I wanted an April 1st move in because I didn't want to pay double rent at both my apartments for a month because that would be insane. That would be like 6 grand. Um, but
No.
anyways, he wanted March 1st, right? So we compromised and um my lease starts March 21st. That was just the day he arbitrarily threw out there. And that's the first day of the astrological new year. I'm like, of course it is, first of all. Second of all, that actually ends up being probably best case scenario because even though I'm paying an extra $1,000 for that last week of March, it allows me 9 days because I only live 2 blocks away. So it allows me 9 days to like slowly but surely go through all my things and purge as I go, right? As I'm moving. Instead of like pack it all up, put it in boxes, move, and then unpack. Like over the 9 days, it's gonna be like, okay, go through all this. What's going,
Slow
what's staying, what's
release.
being thrown out. Okay, let's bring it over, let's unpack, right? So it actually works out perfect in that regard. And there will be a lot of purging, releasing, letting go. So yeah, anyways, it's been wild, like absolutely wild, crazy. Was not expecting this. This is not on my 2025 bingo board, but it just like felt so divinely aligned. And like, of course, this would come to be because yeah, like I needed that nudge back to work life balance. Like it's so long overdue and like it's time for me to like actually start living again and not just working, you know?
Mhm.
So,
I am so excited.
thank you.
I'm
Me
so
too.
excited. I hope that this is like pushing our listeners to like make a little change, make a little shift, get curious, push back, find a new place, say yes to a thing, say no to a thing, investigate.
Listen to your gut and take a leap, even if your mind's like, bro, what? Because it's probably your soul nudging you as opposed to your conditioned logical mind being like, but society told me that this is what I was supposed to want and have, blah, 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 blah. Your
I
soul
know
knows the
that
truth.
100%. I know that when my mind is the one that's making decisions, it's 99% of the time it's my ego, and your
Yep.
ego's job is to keep you safe. And it overcompensates, and it's like the fear of the unknown. Who am I without this role? Who am I without this person? Who am I without this thing? What if this happened? And then you stay in this pattern because you'd rather keep going in what you know than look around the corner and be like, whoa, look at that really cool thing over there that's going to help me thrive. I don't know how to do it, but it looks nice. Let me give that a try.
Yeah, it keeps you stuck and you miss a lot, you know?
Hmm. Take the
Like
leap.
hanging on to things that are, yeah, meant to kind of be blessed and released, right? Like we're not meant to stay in the same places and with the same people and doing the same things our whole life. Like this is all meant to be dynamic and constantly flowing and shifting and like I become a new person every goddamn hour, right? So like I don't need to stand by decisions I made a year and a half ago. Like what
I think some of us get so caught in like, oh, but I made this decision a year and a half ago. So like, what are people gonna think about me if I now change my
Well, that's
mind?
that's the old
Right?
generation too. Like I've
Yeah.
had to really push back. I love my grandmother so much, but she said to me once, she said, "Well, you're a job hopper." And I said, "I've been a teacher for 10 years. How am I a job hopper?" She's like, "Well, you switched schools." I'm like, "I switched roles. I moved up. I shifted in the jobs. I worked new jobs, but I've always
That's
been a
growth,
teacher."
baby.
And I'm like, and that's what we do in this society. Once upon a time, it was this thing of like, you pick a career, you work for a company, and you die there, you retire there. 35 years, you get a plaque. Thank you so much for working at Maytag your whole life. And if that works for you and your family and you've done that, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. But it's a narrative that doesn't have to be done for
No,
everyone all the time. And so that narrative is still very much stuck in our mind when it relates to literally everything. It's like,
could never be me.
if you don't like the relationship that you're in, leave it. If you don't like the job that you're in, leave it. If you don't like the apartment you're living in, leave it. I don't care if you've been there for 5 months, 5 years, 50 years. It's okay to change your mind.
Yes.
It's okay to change your mind. If you want to wear every color one day and black the next day, that's okay. I
Hell
think that you
yeah.
just really agree. Like you need to start listening to your soul, let that lead. And if you don't know how to listen to your soul, if you don't know how to listen to your body, if you don't know how to be in alignment or attunement, guess what? You should keep listening to this podcast because what are we going to do, Hunter? What are we going to do?
Yeah, I mean, this is our first language. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't know how to speak of anything else, really. So,
We're going to teach you.
and well, and not even like directly, like through leading by example. Although, I mean, if you do want
Yeah,
one-on-one support, I'm sure that could be arranged from both
that's where I was
Riley
going with
or
this.
me.
Slide into the DMs, boo. We got you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, that's what we do. We hold space for others and we help you attune in to yourself and listen to your highest self. Find your highest self. Find the thing that you really want.
that was literally what I was born to do.
Help you break patterns. Hunter just gave you the best example. Once upon a time, Hunter was the girl that was told, "Oh, you got to pay 200 extra dollars in rent," and she would have scrambled to do it and not argued. And now look at her. She's going to thrive in a brand new place.
And can I just for shits and giggles, I just need to add this little piece where so I finally found the listing for my current apartment. And as if my landlord, like, he had to bump the rent down, it's already
Lower.
$55 lower than I'm currently paying. Not not lower than he was raising my rent up to. It was that I'm currently paying. Like, yeah, he's listing it for less than I've currently been paying because, like I said in the argument, he was about to, I was already paying above market value. And then when he listed it and he got no interest for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, he was like, oh, maybe she was right. And now he's going to get a new tenant who's not even paying.
What you pay. How
So,
validating is that?
karma. Yeah.
When you listen to your intuition, things line up. Oh, can I share a short story about intuition?
Yes, please.
This is such a random story about intuition. I had my little brother with me. We went to go visit my other brother. He's also my little brother, but he's an in-between child. I've never gone to his new place.
Mm.
So we park, we go up into his condo. I'm sitting on the couch. We've been there for 20 minutes. And we're in the middle of a conversation, and I just interject which is what I do all the time, word vomit. And I go, "Am I okay to park where I parked?" And he goes, I don't know. Look out the window. I look at the window. I go, holy shit, my car's being towed. He goes, run. And I just take off running down the stairs, run out in the parking lot barefoot. He chases after me with the keys. My youngest brother chases after me. We're all running to the parking lot barefoot. And I go, please don't tow my car. And he goes, he had just hooked like the hooks on it and was about to pull it up on the thing. And he looks me up and down with this big smile. And he goes, I don't know, girl. You got some good energy. You got some good karma. Cause he's like, what I should be doing is charging you $140 drop fee. But you got some good intuition and some good karma. I'm gonna let you have your car back. And I was like,
Damn.
this is yesterday. I go, really? And he goes, yeah. He's like, I don't know what it is about your energy, but he's like, I always haul cars away. I never give them back. He's like, but he's like, I'm gonna let you have it. I'm gonna give you some good karma today
Oh my
and
God,
have
I
your
love
car
it.
back. But then he was like, and my brother is standing there. He's lived there for like a year and a half. He always comes to us. I never go over to him because it's a boy house. And and he's standing there with my keys, and his face is like this. He's like, Riley, literally everyone gets towed. He's like, I've never seen that. And I turn around, I snatch the keys. I'm like, I'm so cool. And then we both were just laughing. And he's like, how crazy was that? That you're sitting on the couch and literally just blurt, can I park there? And then your car's getting towed out the window.
Holy,
A 2 mid, baby.
that's a great story.
I know. I loved that.
Well, and
When
not just the fact that you were tuned into it, yeah, the fact that he then was like, "No, I'm gonna leave it. It's yours." Like,
never happens.
yeah.
He's like, I literally don't do this. He's like, because I make commission. He's like, but I don't know what it is. He's like, I'm gonna let you have your car. And I was like, oh my God. And my brother is just standing behind me, like literally all my friends get towed. I'm like, this is a crime, this is a scheme. Like, why would this be happening so much? Which is a whole nother rant in itself. But he gave me my car keys. He gave me my car. And I was like, okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
What goes around comes around, man. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, like, yeah, like when you are living in alignment and following your intuition, like your frequency and your karma, like it's magnetic. Like people feel that, right? So I think, yeah, like as we're kind of, I guess, coming to the end of this podcast, I mean, from both of kind of our updates and our stories here, I think that's kind of the key is like when you're feeling something, like you with your health symptoms and like people aren't, nothing's wrong, but you're like, something's wrong. And me being like, I don't know, this guy's fucking me around and that doesn't feel really good. And this place doesn't 100% make sense, but fuck it, let's just do it. Right? Like when you get those nudges, get
Listen.
curious,
Yeah.
listen, you'll be
Mm-hmm.
surprised. Like it's actually kind of
Yeah.
fun. Like it's kind of like, I don't know, like it's kind of like the roller coaster feeling. You're like, I'm about to do something and I don't know exactly what's gonna happen, but
Well, and you have to know, like, you have to go into the resume of your life. And the resume of your life is, I always survive. If you're listening to this podcast, that theme works for you. I always survive. And it's like, roll the dice, listen to your intuition, follow your soul, get curious about the nudges, explore, pull the trigger on something because you're gonna survive.
and those nudges are always the portal to your next level, right? Like
Yeah.
being complicit, like ignoring your gut instinct and listening to an authority, like that is never the way to your next level. That is never the way to your highest alignment, your highest self, your next stage of growth. Like that will never be the door. Like I can just tell you that right now.
Yeah.
So may as well roll the dice, try something new, see where you end up.
Hey, and you'll go from survive to thrive.
That's my chapter I'm moving into. Well, both of us.
Yeah.
Finally.
Mm-hmm.
It's time. It's so time. So on that note, I don't know when we will be meeting again. What? Probably, I don't know,
In a
probably a
couple
few
of
weeks.
weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
less time than last time. And I can imagine even in a few weeks' time,
More
just
things.
gonna be different.
I think too, my call to action for listeners is like, send us your curiosities, send us your questions, post comments, because we can speak on those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to speak on some topics that you guys are feeling called or are needing some guidance around.
And like, yeah, we just love to riff. Like we're not gonna give you like the regurgitated chat GPT or research. Like we're gonna like just tap in and see what comes out. Right. And yeah, no, I'm open to any and all questions, comments, curiosities. Let's go.
Okay, fam, we love you.
Okay. See you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on The Art of Being Alive. We hope today's conversation brought you closer to understanding the ways we can all live more fully and intentionally. Remember, the journey to wellness is unique for each of us, and we're here to support you every step of the way.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. It really helps us reach more people like you. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out to us on social media or comment down below. We love hearing from our listeners and building this community together. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep exploring the art of being alive.